You're losing gunfights you should win. Not because your aim is trash, not because you're playing against hackers, but because you're doing exactly what they expect. Every single time. And when you're predictable in Call of Duty, you're dead. The difference between players who dominate lobbies and players who go 15 and 20 isn't talent. It's understanding one brutal truth. Movement beats aim, positioning beats movement, and unpredictability beats everything. Most players think being aggressive means sprinting into every room and hoping for the best. Wrong. That's not aggression. That's feeding the enemy team free kills while you blame your controller, your connection, or your teammates in the chat. Real aggression is calculated chaos. It's making the other player panic while you stay in complete control. Let's start with the biggest mistake I see everywhere. You're rounding corners like you're taking a Sunday stroll through the park. You jog up to a doorway, stop, aim down sights, and peek. Congratulations, you just gave the enemy a free headshot. Because while you were gently tiptoeing into that room like you're afraid to wake up your parents at 3 in the morning, the other guy was already pre-aiming. He saw you coming a mile away. Instead, you need to break the camera. Jump around that corner while you're already firing. Slide in from an unexpected angle. Drop shot as you enter. Anything except the slow, predictable peek that screams, "Please shoot me in the face." When you explode into a room, the enemy's brain needs a split second to process what just happened. That split second? That's your advantage. The game's netcode and camera angles already favor aggressive players who understand this. You'll see them before they see you, even if you're both technically looking at the same spot. It's not fair, but why would you not exploit it? Think about how most players hold a position. They find a nice little corner, crouch behind a box, and wait. Maybe they're watching a doorway. Maybe they're covering a lane. Doesn't matter. They're stationary, which means they're already half dead. Because the second someone jumps through that doorway or slides around that corner with momentum, it's over. Static targets lose to dynamic movement every single time. Even if you are holding a position, move. Crouch, stand, crouch again. Strafe left and right. Go prone for 2 seconds. Pop back up. The moment you become a statue, you become target practice. I've won so many gunfights simply because the other player was sitting perfectly still behind their cover, making it incredibly easy to line up a headshot. Meanwhile, I'm bobbing and weaving like I've had 12 energy drinks, and they can't hit anything. Now, here's something most people completely ignore. Your grenades aren't just for getting kills. Stop trying to be a frag montage hero. Use your lethals as reconnaissance tools. You think there's someone camping in that building? Cook a grenade and toss it in. If you get a hit marker, you know exactly where they are, and now they're weak. If you don't get a hit marker, that room's clear, and you just saved yourself from walking into an ambush. This works with C4, Semtex, Molotovs, everything. Information wins games, and a well-placed explosive gives you information instantly. Let me ask you something. When you're playing, where do you position yourself? Be honest. Are you standing in the middle of open areas wondering why you keep getting shot from 17 different angles? Because I see this constantly. Players park themselves in spots where they're visible from every direction, then act shocked when they get deleted. Your positioning should minimize the number of angles you're exposed to. Put your back to a wall. Use cover that actually blocks sight lines. Position yourself where you can see enemies, but they can't see you until it's too late. And pay attention to where your team is. If all 4 of your teammates are on one side of the map, the enemies aren't spawning over there. They're spawning behind you. So either push up with your team or hold the flank, but don't be that one player who's completely isolated on the opposite side of the map with 0 support. That's not being aggressive. That's volunteering to get spawn trapped. Here's the reality check nobody wants to hear. You can have the best movement in the lobby. You can slide cancel like a pro, bunny hop around corners, drop shot every engagement. But if your accuracy is terrible, none of it matters. You'll see the enemy first, get the jump on them, and still lose because you're dumping half your magazine into their kneecaps while they calmly aim at your chest and end you. Accuracy isn't some mysterious skill reserved for people with expensive gaming chairs. It's trainable. Go into a private match, set up bots with increased health, turn off aim assist, and force yourself to hit headshots only. Do this for 20 minutes a day. Your brain will start automatically tracking heads instead of spraying at center mass. When you turn aim assist back on for real matches, it'll feel like easy mode. You'll wonder why you ever struggled in the first place. But here's where it gets interesting. Because even with perfect aim and godlike movement, there's one thing that'll still get you killed more than anything else. And it's probably happening to you right now without you even realizing it. You're trusting your teammates. That's the problem. I know it sounds cynical, but in random lobbies, your teammates are not there to protect you. They're playing their own game, chasing their own kills, probably listening to music and barely paying attention to what's happening around them. The moment you start relying on someone else to watch your back, you've already lost. I've been in countless situations where I had a teammate directly beside me, an enemy pushed from their direction, and they just stood there like a deer in headlights. By the time they finally started shooting, I was already watching the kill cam. So what do you do instead? You use them as human radar. When that teammate next to you dies, you instantly know where the enemy is. You don't need to check that angle anymore because your teammate just gave you free information with his death. Sounds harsh, but that's the reality of playing aggressive in public matches. Every death on your team tells you something. Every gunfight happening around you is data. Process it, adapt, and keep moving. There's something else that separates decent aggressive players from legitimately dangerous ones. Audio awareness. Most players have their game volume set to wherever it landed by default and never think about it again. Meanwhile, someone who actually uses sound properly can hear you coming from a mile away. Footsteps in this game are loud. Ridiculously loud if you're actually listening for them. When you're sprinting around the map like your life depends on it, everyone within a 20-meter radius knows exactly where you are. That's why good players mix in walking at critical moments. You're approaching a building where you think enemies are camping. Stop sprinting 10 meters before you get there. Walk the last bit. You'll hear them before they hear you. And that split-second advantage is the difference between getting the jump on them or walking into a pre-aimed angle. Reload timing is another thing nobody talks about. You just finished a gunfight, killed one guy, your magazine is sitting at 12 rounds. And what do most players do? Immediately reload. Then someone else pushes while you're stuck in that animation, and you die with your pants down. Unless your mag is completely empty or close to it, finish the reload after you find cover or confirm the area is clear. 12 bullets is enough to win your next fight if your aim is decent. Don't leave yourself vulnerable just because you have the compulsive need to see that full ammo counter. I've gotten so many free kills on players who won their first gunfight, started reloading out in the open, and basically handed me their head on a silver platter. Let's talk about something that might actually change how you see the entire game. Map control. Aggressive doesn't mean brainless. It doesn't mean sprinting directly into the enemy spawn every single time and hoping for the best. Real aggression is controlled chaos. You're constantly applying pressure, but you're doing it smart. You're taking map control piece by piece. Secure one power position, then push to the next one. If you take the middle of the map, you control the flow of the entire match. Enemies have to react to you. They're forced to push into your angles or get stuck in their spawn. That's when you rack up kills, because they're coming to you in predictable patterns instead of you running around like a headless chicken hoping to stumble into someone. And when you do take a position, don't just sit there like it's your new home. Hold it for 15, maybe 20 seconds. Get your kills, then rotate before enemies figure out where you are and start pre-aiming. Aggressive play is about staying one step ahead of the other team's mental map of where you are. The second they think they know your position, you should already be somewhere else. This is why players who constantly move but do it intelligently are so hard to counter. You can't predict them. You can't set up for them. By the time you're aiming at where they were, they've already rotated and are shooting you from a completely different angle. Here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to accept. Playing aggressive at a high level is exhausting. It requires constant focus, constant decision-making, constant mechanical execution. You can't zone out. You can't autopilot. Every corner could have someone waiting. Every sound could be a flanker. Every second you're processing information and making reads. This is why most players don't actually play aggressive even when they think they do. They'll have one good life where they go on a tear, then spend the next 5 lives mindlessly sprinting into bad situations because they stopped thinking. Consistency is what separates someone who occasionally pops off from someone who's genuinely a problem every single match. Want to know the fastest way to improve? Record your gameplay. Watch how you die. Not to feel bad about it, but to identify patterns. I guarantee you're making the same 3 or 4 mistakes over and over. Maybe you're peeking the same angles the same way every time. Maybe you're sprinting when you should be walking. Maybe you're challenging fights you have no business taking. You won't notice this stuff in the moment because you're focused on playing. But when you watch it back, it's painfully obvious. Fix one mistake at a time. Seriously, just one. Spend a week only working on not sprinting around blind corners. Then move to the next thing. Trying to fix everything at once just means you fix nothing. Playing aggressive isn't about being fearless. It's about calculated risks. Every push you make should have a purpose. Every route you take should have an escape plan. Every gunfight you take should be one you can win. When you start thinking like this, your deaths drop dramatically because you're not feeding kills to the enemy team anymore. You're picking your spots. And when you do that while maintaining pressure and speed, you become the player everyone else is complaining about in the lobby. That's when you know you've figured it out. You're not going to transform overnight. Nobody does. But you'll notice something shift after about a week of playing like this. Enemies who used to dominate you suddenly can't keep up. Lobbies that felt impossible start feeling manageable. That's not luck. That's you finally playing the game the way it's meant to be played. Aggressive, smart, and completely unreadable.